Hey you guys, it's me Rachel here with Senza Cane Corso. So I'm out here with some of the babies, not a lot of them. Oh, it's gonna be another scorcher, another hot caliente day. Hello, sweet baby. Hello, sweet baby. So I had a new thing going on that thought I would share about as I like to include you guys in my endeavors. So many of you know I purchased Asia as an adult from some pictures online that I saw. She looks like a black dog. Many people think she's a black dog, but she's actually not. If you look at her, sweet baby, let me see your face. You'll see here that she's actually got, no, go away. Jolene, go away. Go away. Go away, Jolene. Stop. I don't know if you can see here her brindling on her legs. It's very, quit. There's some in the, hold on. I'm having a hard time here. Move. Here, we can look on this back leg here. Jolene, if you don't leave me alone, or Kona, go lay down. Stop. Go. Now. Let me see here. There you go. There's some, stop putting your head in the way. There, see the brindle? Okay. So she has brindle on her feet, on her legs. And so I was led to believe, I was told that brindle points are separate from tan points. And I have now found that to be not true. So I've bred Mona now. Now Mona is 100% European lines. Very expensive dog that I purchased. Love you, because of her pedigree and her structure and her size. And so anyway, so I bred her and I kept back Remy. And Remy's out of Preacher, never produced anything pointed out of Preacher. And I put Remy to Batista, and that's how I produced the black and tan puppy that I produced recently. As well as another puppy that looks like Remy did, which is basically a heavy carbon Formentino. And you guys know that because Remy has completely faded out to a normal Formentino. Watch out. And anyway, now I believe that the pointing is from Mona. It is that brindle pointing, which is just pointing. And through my research, and I'm just going to be honest with you, for me, genetics around color is very difficult to understand. There are a lot of things that I'm good at, okay? Structure, things like that. But my brain does not like numbers, does not like stuff like that. So I'm not very good at math. I have no problem admitting it. We're all good at some things. Math is not one of them for me. And my brain tends to get overwhelmed with like lots of different acronyms and stuff like that. There's a lot of research you have to do into it, and I'm learning. I am growing. It's just not something that super interests me. And anytime, like, I don't know if there's a condition or whatever it's called, but if I'm really interested in something, it's super easy for me to learn. I will almost become like borderline obsessed with it, and I'll just soak up the knowledge. But if it's something that I'm not interested in, even if I need to know it, if it's not like a natural interest for me, it's very hard for me to focus and learn. And genetics is one of those things. I think it's called the pundit square, the punit, whatever it's called, square. You know, I used to breed fish, you guys, and it was a very important thing for color genetics. And I was just like, whatever, like, I'm just going to breed the fish that I want to breed, and it is what it is. I'll let the chips fall where they may, because it was hard for me. And not because I think that it's necessarily super hard in general. I'm sure that once I get into it, I'll be like, oh, okay, this isn't as complicated as I thought. But just visually, my brain is like, I don't know about that. And so Anyway, so it's something that I'm having to learn, especially because I'm older now and this is my breed, and I, I'm going to learn about it. But one of the things that I learned is that if a dog has brindle, I believe it's carrying brindle, then they will not have tan points. They will be brindle. So that's why whenever I bred Mad Mortigan to Trinity, why I got brindle points in those litters. And so basically it seems that the pointing gene, which I want to be very clear, I was told specifically by European breeders that there was a difference. Now, obviously that's wrong, and I don't know, this is what I believe. This is my theory. I believe that because the American breeders mixed a bunch of Rottweiler into their dogs, and created a bunch of black and tan dogs, I think that a lot of breeders in Europe hesitate to admit that they have black and tan in their lines, or pointing in their lines, because they don't want to be confused or conflated with what the Americans did. There are lots of breeds that carry pointing, even Labradors, that it's just been there in their genetics. It's like a recessive gene. And I was talking with somebody about it, and he was saying that it's like one of the very first mutations that happened. So there's a lot of breeds that can have the black and tan or the pointed mutation, that are not necessarily mixed breed dogs. And so I think that a lot of breeders of European dogs hesitate to admit that their dogs carry pointing because they don't want to be accused of mixing, and they don't want to be conflated with what happened in America. I know that I think that there are people that confuse me with having an issue with black and tan and thinking that it's wrong just because it's in the American lines. More often than not, I have said that black and tan is a good sign that a dog has American lines, and I do still stand by that. But I've made other posts talking about what that, like, for example, I took a brindle Corso, historical Corso. Not historical in the sense that it was like an antique dog or anything like that. What I mean is that it was a dog that that a lot of people used, I think around the 90s, I think, something like that. But I would have to look. But anyway, I took that dog and I did a silhouette of that dog. Okay, I blackened it out, and then I took a Rottweiler and did the same thing, blackened it out. And I asked people to identify which one was the Rottweiler, and it was impossible because they looked the same. And that's because even though that dog was brindle, it had the shape, the quote unquote type of a Rottweiler. And that's always been my biggest issue, is not the color black and tan, although I do think that it does signify in a lot of American lines, specifically the mahogany black and tan, right? So the black and tan that I produce is a cream and black. It's like cream pointed. But usually in American lines, you'll see a mahogany, like a Rottweiler, mahogany and black. But still, having said that, there are other Italian breeds that have black and tan in them. And so anyway, we don't know where it came from or what, but now that I know that the pointing gene is still in the European lines, which I know that there are people that point to dogs like Plud, but the reality is that if you look at pictures of that dog, he's not pointed. You can see that he has brindling all through his coat. It's not just pointing, and people like to push that, but two things can be true at the same time, and that dog is not pointed, but there is pointing in the European lines. And now that I know that, in order for me to avoid producing it, I'm going to need to start color testing my dogs, which I'm fine with. There's a test from, I think, UC Davis that they just test the A locus, which is where that mutation can be found. So, so basically, conclusion being that a dog can have pointing and not be a mixed breed dog. And I think that that's something that needs to be said, because I think that there's a lot of people that think that I don't believe that. Now, like I said, I used to fully say that brindle pointing, because like I said, I've had Mona for a long time now. And so brindle pointing I knew to be a possibility, but the difference was that I was told that brindle pointing would never produce tan points, and I have now found that to be inaccurate. It absolutely can. In the absence of a dog carrying brindle, they will in turn have the tan points. So it's not a huge deal. It just means that I have to spend about $50 to color test the dogs. Now, I will say that for me, conformation is always going to be more important. Conformation is the structure of a dog. So I'm not going to take a lesser dog in structure simply because it has a color that is more correct. Having said that, the only caveat to that is that I would never keep an actual black and tan dog. Now, I have another dog that I kept out of the litter with Remy that looks like she did as a puppy, and I do believe that this dog is going to fade out to a normal Formentino. But you know, there's a high likelihood that she could be carrying the genetics, or even have the pointing gene and have it be obscured through some, you know, genetic thing, because genetics are like the most crazy hierarchy that you've ever heard of. Like they all have their role, they all have their positions, and who gets to be on top of who, and who's dominant over who, and you'd think that stuff would be right up my alley, but I've got to learn. So anyway, you know, just a new thing that I'm dealing with right now, because a lot of you saw that black and tan puppy, and I was just as shocked as anybody else. But, you know, there's no American lines in that stuff. And so it's just, you know, we learn as we grow. It does not negate the Rottweiler mixing in the American lines, which has been proven scientifically. And I think that a lot of American breeders have been trying to blame their black and tans on European dogs in the past, when the reality is that they have black and tan more so. And I'm not saying that it couldn't also be from the addition of some import dogs brought in over time, but let's not sit here and pretend that the sheer amount of Rottweiler mixing that went on did not have a very heavy influence on them producing black and tan, specifically black and mahogany pattern dogs. So anyway, so that's about all I got to say about that. I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm gonna get inside. It's a hot one, and I gotta let some more dogs out, and yeah, that's about it. So I look forward to, you know, working with my dogs to eliminate this genetic, and it may take a couple generations, because like I said, I'm always going to preference structure. I'm not going to take that subpar dog simply because it's, you know, it's brindle and another one looks like it might carry pointing, right? You got to have your priorities right. And the reality of the situation is that the structure of a dog is far more influential than the color of a dog. And, you know, a dog with a straight rear is going to blow its ACL, and I'm not going to, you know, preference that over a dog that has fantastic rear angulation just because it looks like it may not carry a pointing gene. And I don't expect for everybody to be able to understand that. You know, we all have different ideas of how to be good breeders, and we all have different programs, and whatever floats your boat is good for you, and whatever floats my boat is good for me. And I'm going to do what I want to do, you want to do. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.